and welcome. Thank you very much for the golf for coming here today. Thank you for the coaches for coming here today too. This is our episode of the Golf Tier System Future You Pathway webinar series. For those of you who are new to the program, hi, my name is Coach TJ. I own academies in Vancouver and in Las Vegas, and I was just like you. I was a junior golfer trying to navigate the system. I was lucky enough to go to University of Washington on a full ride and lucky enough to win. And then that's actually where I started my teaching career. So I was lucky enough to be a freshman and teaching at the school. I think that's where I really got my passion for helping kids and young golfers. So our academies really focus on kids age 5 to 18. We try to make sure that their basic fundamentals are amazing. And we also do academic readiness to get them to their dream school. So the Future You Pathway, I'm proud to say we've helped hundreds of kids find their way to their dream school. So today, I have my esteemed co-host, Coach Michael Hughes. Michael Hughes was the Brown University coach for the last 17 years. He has had an esteemed career. He started his program as a golf professional in Florida, where he was at the PGA National. He then had met people like Jim Flick and Dr. Gary Wyron, and then they introduced him to Ken Venturi, and Ken Venturi had this golf academy in Chicago. He then went to Chicago, became the director of golf there for 6 years. Then he was coerced or enticed to become the assistant coach at DePaul, and then they had a worldwide search for a Brown University coach, and he got the coveted job at Brown University, and he is known around the world as the go-to guy for short game. So Coach Hughes and I have done many camps together, even with Will Green. He's come to Vancouver, we've gone to Ireland, and we took the 8 Ivy League coaches, Northwestern and Duke, to China. And Coach Hughes, how are you today? And how about flying to China in 2016 when we checked it out?
Well, first of all, thanks for my two very good friends and cohorts for coming here today. It's the top of the line right here at Princeton and Harvard. So I'm grateful to have the friendship that I have with both you guys. Yeah, it just seems like yesterday we were all jetting over to China, and I think we had some very strange looks on our faces when we sampled some of the food there, but turned out okay. And I'd like to think that of ourselves as being on the cutting edge and leading the initiative for golf in China to bring it to the worldwide stage, as you see with Hao Tung Lee, who is the runner-up at the British Open this year from China. But it's gratifying for me to see you guys here, and I think that we'll have a great time as we usually do when all of us are together.
Now, Coach, you really, well, you know both these guys super well. Why don't you tell us about how you know Coach Kevin Rhoads of Harvard?
Well, Kevin was the men's and women's coach, and we used to run into each other every once in a while. And I think I played in a group behind him once at a U.S. Open qualifier, and I was amazed how straight he hit the golf ball.
Mm.
It was not what I was doing, but that I digress. But another little known fact about Kevin, he would never say such thing. He's a very renowned teacher, teaches at the Country Club in Brookline, Massachusetts, which is, of course, the site of Francis Ouimet's victory back in the day and the U.S. incredible rally at the Ryder Cup. So, very sneaky player, played at UCLA, but you'll never hear that from him. He's one of the most humble guys I know. And with that, I'll let you ask a question of Will Green.
Yeah, how do you know Will Green, and how do you know Will? How many years do you guys go back?
Well, since I'm just a smidge older than he is, I'll wait for him to laugh a little bit, and
Weren't
then
you runner up till we met?
yeah. Very well done. Another man of very modest means. He's also right now the current president of the Golf Coaches Association, which is probably the most influential thing you can do in college golf. So I leaned on him when I first came into the league, and he was very generous with his time and his opinions. and we've been great friends ever since. We've traveled all over the world together, and I am very happy to count both these guys as very close friends of mine.
What was your
Now,
name again?
no, go ahead, Will.
What was your name again?
This is how it goes.
Coach Kevin, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
So yeah, I grew up in a golf family. My dad's a golf professional, so he played the PGA Tour for 7 years, and then came off tour into job as head professional at San Francisco Golf Club for where he was for 41 years. So
Wow.
so I grew up seeing that and kind of learning golf through him, and I had an older brother that played a bunch of other sports, and I followed him around for a long time. And then, kind of mid high school, decided that I wanted to try to maybe play in college, which is extremely late to decide that. I'd been playing, but in terms of fully applying myself, it was kind of mid high school. Went to UCLA, wasn't on the team, but eventually became a walk on the team. Eventually made all conference my last year. Tried to play for a couple years after school, and when I stopped playing full time, then I kind of wanted to make a decision on, do I stay in golf and go in a different direction? And I thought if I did stay in golf, I thought really being immersed in the game, kind of the teaching and coaching side, would be the area that I most was passionate about, and I hope that I was decent at helping people. So I don't know. I knew my dad's way of doing things, but we also thought it was important for me to learn from some other people. I went to work for a man named Rick Martino, who was then director of instruction for the PGA of America in Florida, and was there for a year and a half. I thought I'd move back to the West Coast after that. But instead, I moved not only north, but east also. Being a West Coaster, I didn't know you could go east from Florida, but you can.
I didn't
And
know that.
yeah, and yeah, I moved to Boston to start teaching at the country club. But my second year there, was approached by Harvard about coaching the women's team there, and I'd always hoped that I could college coach, and I didn't know where it would happen and when it would happen. Thought it might be guys, but ended up being gals first, and I loved it. It was an up and coming program where we hadn't had a lot of success before, but so that started out with not a ton of expectation, and kind of we grew that little by little. We had more fun, we got better, and then I had a chance to start coaching the guys too. So I've loved it at Harvard. I've loved it at the Country Club. I've loved it in Boston. As Hughesy and Coach Green said, I'm so lucky to know them and to have met Coach TJ, and we've all been able to kind of go all around the world, being able to spread what golf is about. And I love the game. I love the people that are in the game, and you guys are fantastic. So thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Wow, that's nice. Okay, Coach Will Green, can you tell us about your background?
Sure, mine's a little more circuitous than Coach Rhoads, but I was a baseball player growing up. I didn't take up golf till I was with any degree of seriousness till I was in my 20s. Found I had a little bit of ability and stubborn enough to think that I could take it into the professional ranks, which I did. And that's one of the things about golf. If you think you're good enough, you pay your entry fee, you pick up a pencil and a scorecard, and you go find out. So I was fortunate enough to play professional golf for 3 years. I was good enough that I could have kept playing professional golf. I knew that I wasn't good enough to make the PGA Tour. And a lot of things sort of melded together at the same time. I was taking a little bit of time off to move from Arkansas to New Jersey with my family, um, trying to sort of reset and continue playing. But I called up the golf coach at Princeton at the time and said, "Hey, I just moved to town. I've been playing professional golf for 3 years. Is there anything I can do to help out?" And that was on a Tuesday. I drove over to Springdale Golf Club, our home course, on Thursday, and I became his assistant coach on Friday. And then about 6, 7 weeks later, he decided it was time to retire. And I moved one seat over, and I've been there ever since. So that's 27 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how I got here either, but I'm certainly going to hang on to it while I can.
Well, I remember when you were in Vancouver and we had the marshmallow challenge, and I think you won. I think I have a video of that, of the 7-iron shot with the marshmallow. You hit it like 52 yards.
Hey, I can do wonders with marshmallows.
All right, well, let's get into the crux of this here. Let me start with Kevin. Kevin, what does someone have to do to get onto your radar as a potential student athlete? How do they go about reaching out to your school?
Very good. Yeah. I mean, uh, well, for our school, and I think a lot of schools these days, I think, um, the starting point is certainly kind of starting to decide what you want and what you're looking for. Obviously, we coach at academically centric schools where the kids that we're looking for are they're very serious about school. They know that that's a important part of their life and that it's going to give them the most opportunities moving forward. But they also are people who are really serious, passionate, competitive golfers that are really good at golf as well. So, if people are feeling like that those two areas are very high importance to them, and also that they're showing themselves to be able to perform at those high levels, then reaching out is first step. Often is email. These days, it's just the easiest way to put together kind of here's what I'm about. Cover letter explaining who they are and what they think and why they might be interested in your school. And then obviously that starts to be accompanied by a golf resume and their academic resume, because we need to be able to, our process is fairly academically benchmark driven. If people are not in a certain level academically, then it may not be a reality for them. But if they can meet that hurdle, and then we're looking for the best competitive players that we can get that are truly passionate about competitive golf and also are really excelling on a very high level with regard to competitive golf. And then we can get to know them a little bit more and see what their personal qualities are. So, not sure if that was exactly the question, but maybe that's a starting point.
I have a one question. Do you find in the last, say, 20 years that there's way more boys or way more girls that because golf has kind of exploded, that have could have an academically high standard and perform at golf the best? Do you think the pool of students is getting larger since 20 years ago?
Yeah, I think certainly. I don't know exactly how to answer that, but it definitely feels that way. That there's always been the high achievers academically for sure, but I think golf is a sport where there are a large number of people that it goes together, that their academics are very important to them, but they also are very interested in golf and high achieving at golf. So yeah, I do think that. I think there's more and more kids every year, and that's nice to know that opportunity exists. I think that the Ivy League, as the level has gotten better in the league, I think it has gotten more on the radar of more kinds of kids where they're like, well, I am good at golf, but I didn't know I could have a robust competitive experience if I played in the Ivy League as well, as being really strong academically. So I think we've had more and more options to come to the league through the years. That's been my experience, at least.
I think the college or the junior golf game has grown with just the game of golf in general. Also, in the last 20 years, you see a lot more specialization at younger ages. So you'll see a lot more talented golf than you might have seen 20 years ago when it was, one of three or four sports that you played. So you didn't really have a time to focus on the training that you do now. So the growth has, at least in my seemingly 100 years, it's grown exponentially. And I think the depth of talent is what's been the most impressive to us. When I first started and when Coach Rhoads came in and Coach Hughes came in, I think we were lucky to have Ivy League teams with two, maybe three good players. And now you're looking at teams that are 5, 6, 7 players deep. So the growth of the game certainly helps, and the specialization of sports helps us. I'm not sure if it's a great commentary on childhood myself, but in the same breath, I want to make sure people are playing tournament golf.
Great.
All right, well, let me just expand this a little bit. If you're a potential student athlete that's watching this, Do you suggest they get in front of you by going to bigger tournaments? Do they go to camps? Do they wait for you to seek them out? What kind of emphasis should they be putting on their efforts to go to two very obviously highly educational facilities? I'm sorry, institutions like the ones you guys represent.
It's a good question to ask, Michael, and there's a few ways that I would answer it. We have a tendency to say it's never too early and it's never too late. It's never too early to start reaching out to colleges. Even I think you said the youngest on here tonight's 8 years old.
Yeah.
There's no harm in sending an email to a college coach, say, hey, and I'm only 8 years old, but keep an eye on me because I'm going to be there. And then as you continue to get older and you get into high school years, then you start to get a little bit more frequent communication with coaches. Now, there's certain NCAA rules that are going to impact the way that we can respond, but it is incumbent on all of the young men and young women to initiate that contact until that time when we can actually respond, which is June 15th following your sophomore year of high school. Now, in terms of camps or tournaments or things like that, there's a couple answers there too. As it relates to tournaments, obviously we've all heard of things like the HAGA, the Hurricane Tour, Future Collegiates Tour. One of our friends in the league has a great way of answering this too. The way that you set your schedule, a third, a third, a third. A third of those tournaments are tournaments when you show up, you are already in contention just by being there. It might be a local event, maybe even a club match or something like that. And then maybe a third of your events, it might require that you sleep away from home one night. But if you play well, you've got a chance to contend and you're certainly going to be competitive. And then that last third that's when you're going to stretch yourself. Maybe go play in a USAM qualifier or a US Open qualifier, something where you're not quite at that level yet, but you get to see that level and you get to measure where you are so that the next time you do it, you're more comfortable, you're better, you're more prepared, you're better talented, so that you continue to develop as an athlete. So those are the best ways to get noticed. However, camps are now an increasingly important way for young student athletes to be exposed to college coaches and the sport of college golf. There are a lot of them out there. There are a lot of schools that host them. There are a lot of organizations that host them. I think the one thing about camps that is beneficial is that when you go to one, it's an opportunity to actually interact with a coach, and you can't do that in the normal recruiting process. Like I said, before July or June 15th, your sophomore year, we can't even respond to you, much less, have a conversation or go meet you at your home or something like that. But in a camp setting, you could be on a campus for 2, 3, 4 days and spend the entire day with a coach, and that coach is going to spend an entire day with you. So you have a chance to actually get to know that institution, that coach, or those coaches that are there, and they have a chance to get to know you beyond your score. And I think that's, as the process unfold, yes, we want good scores, and yes, we want to know that you can be successful academically, but we need to get to know you as a person too, because, and I believe that Coach Hughes and Coach Rhoads, you'll agree, culture is everything. Culture trumps talent 9 times out of 10. So we're looking for young men and young women that add to the cultures that we've created. And I think that both Coach Rhoads and I have spent a lot of time focusing on that culture. And obviously the results that we've had show that we've been pretty successful at it. I could go on.
Yeah.
I love it.
Coach Rhoads, what can you say about culture? Because it is. You're with them a lot, many hours.
So Coach Green said it, and he's upheld that for his entire career, and it's been really fun to watch. I mean, they were going over accolades earlier, and Coach Green is current Northeast Region Coach of the Year. He's his teams are in the middle of some runs where they have, yes, some extra impressive players going on, but as he just alluded to, it's, single players are one thing and they can do well and win tournaments on their own, but to continue to sustain, it definitely has to be kind of the ethos of the program and the focus of the group and the way that the group continues to sustain and then build around each other. It is it's who you have, it's what you reinforce, and it's what you do day in and day out that's either going to make things like almost become bigger than the sum of the total parts, or actually where people can almost get in each other's way and kind of bring down either the experience or the performance or all of them together. So again, people who have it as a value to not only be able to excel themselves, but maybe to be able to, make the group better. That's it's a little bit odd because golf is an individual sport and we're used to playing as individuals, but in college we love the idea that we get to play an individual sport but also as a team. And so people who can, I don't know, it's important, and it's a different skill set to not just be able to take care of your own stuff but also to positively contribute to the group. So we want people who can do both. And those things also, as you know, I mean, sport as metaphor for life, but also, people that are trying to play college sports are very often very attractive people for, if they don't turn professional in their sport and they end up going and working for different organizations. If those are people that, are college athletes that are used to being part of something bigger than themselves, that can accomplish something bigger than themselves, there's a lot of traits, a lot of skill sets that can actually be transferable once they get out of college and into, whatever they end up doing next.
Yeah, that's one thing I heard is that if you had two applicants and then one was a collegiate athlete on a team and other one just did whatever, I think the collegiate athlete is the one that could be, picked ahead of, like, I think it's advantageous to be a college athlete besides, as a group, and then also doing your sport.
All the time. They'll take the athlete every single time.
All right, I got a good question I'll throw this to Willie, and I know you could probably speak on this topic for any number of minutes, but
I can
what,
speak on any topic for any number of minutes.
and I've witnessed this too, so uh, maybe some of the do's and don'ts of once you've got on the coach's radar, how can you enhance your ability to get noticed a little bit more? What are some of the things you should do and some of the things you absolutely should not do?
This is one of my favorite questions because it always ends up with a few stories that we've told over the years. I'll give you one don't, just because I imagine we've all been through it and we all kind of laugh about it. I have on my phone, and I save these when they come in. I have right now, there's 18 of them where it begins with Dear Coach Green, I'm really interested in playing for Yale. And that would fall into the don't column. Understand who you're writing to. My response generally is, geez, Yale's a great place. I hope it works out for you. Let me know. I say that half kiddingly, but the reality is that everything that you do is being noticed. When you play in a golf tournament, we are seeing you getting out of the car in the parking lot. Are you putting your push cart together yourself, or your parents doing it? Are you being polite and supportive of your family? When you're out on the golf course, are you throwing clubs? Are you engaging with your fellow competitors? Every little thing is part of the puzzle when it comes to recruiting. And our goal is to, in the process, when we're only allowed to, or we're only going to be bringing in 1, 2, or 3 prospective student athletes in any given year, all of those things add up to the puzzle. And the way I describe it as a puzzle because it works out that way. Anybody that's done a jigsaw puzzle, you put the corners and the edges in first. Those are the easiest things to find and the easiest things to put together. That's your grades and that's your tournament scores. Simple. It's very objective. It's a way for us to kind of get started. And then sort of the bottom of that puzzle is like the houses or the cars or the dogs or whatever, things that you can kind of pick together and piece together without a whole lot of effort. That's going to be sort of, okay, these are the scores that this young man shot at this tournament. And here are the grades that he had. And he's taking this schedule in his next academic year. And then you get into that blue sky. That's the hardest part of a jigsaw puzzle to put together. That's the intangibles of I watched you play at a tournament and I loved the way that you carry yourself. You know, it's really hard to describe what we're looking for when we go to watch a young man or a young woman play golf, but we know when we see it. And that's a line I'm borrowing from Supreme Court from decades ago. So to answer your question, Coach, the dues are, it begins and ends with be a good person. Be a good person. Put effort in everything that you do. Pay attention to what's to your surroundings while you're playing. It's fine when you play golf to sort of get lost in your own world, as long as you're being polite and generous with your fellow competitors, and especially with your parents. That's the thing that drives me more crazy than anything. Is you watch a young man or young woman that gets mad at their mom because they got the wrong snack. I don't understand that. And that's the kind of thing that we sort of project out. Okay, when you come to our program and you're mad at me because I didn't get the right snack, boy, that's just not going to make for a good day. So the do's are be a good person, be a good student, put effort into everything that you do, never give up, and show those things. It's easy to show those things. The don'ts are the opposite of that. You know, being careless, being reckless, being lazy, being rude, sulking, things like that. We have the good fortune, Coach Rhoads and I, to be at institutions that are highly desirable. And that affords us the luxury of being picky. It affords us the luxury of making sure that when we finally do decide on that one, two, or three young men that are going to join our program, we know exactly what we're getting. And we know that they're going to represent not only themselves, but us, their families, and our university in a positive way. You can play golf however you want right now, but as soon as you put on a bag that says Harvard on the back of it, that comes with expectations. And that's something that I can't stress enough. When you're out there playing, you're going to hit bad shots. It happens. How you respond to those bad shots is what we're really paying attention to. How's that for a couple of minutes, Coach?
That's awesome.
Outs outstandingly said. Let's see if we get the same, maybe some different perspectives from Kevin.
You can't, because I basically want to have the same answer as Coach Green, but I do think it is difficult because, there's some realities about the competitiveness when Coach Green mentions maybe one, two, or three uh, men or young women in the world that we're going to be able to support for admissions. Then things are, they're by their nature, they're extremely competitive. And I think that does make people focus a lot on beating other people, getting better test scores, shooting better scores, and that kind of stuff. But those are still going to take care of themselves no matter what. Again, if those are priorities for you, then you do the very best that you can. You work as hard as you can in the classroom and to get as good as you can at golf. But I can't say it better than he said it with regard to those are given that you're going to be working as hard as you can in those ways. And then the intangibles and the personal qualities and kind of the value systems of the families and then the kids themselves, they have to be able to see what Coach Green said and why those things are also important instead of just the test scores, which matter, or just the golf scores, which matter. The other things matter also. How you react to what happens to you or how you react to what you do. I say it a lot. It's kind of the conclusions that you come to about anything that happens. You can have good things happen. You can do good things and come to either good conclusions or bad conclusions about them, and vice versa. You can have challenging things happen, shoot tough scores on a given day, not quite get the tournament outcome that you want, and you can come to good conclusions about those and make sure that those end up being used for you and that you learn from them, not just about performance, but also what your value systems are supposed to be. So anyway, I can't say it better than he did. That was a masterpiece answer, but it couldn't be more true.
Nice. Coach Hughes and I were talking the other day about kids not picking up the flag and then, always the same kid picking up the flag all the time. I mean, I'm Coach Hughes' age, and it was just like, it was just something that was instilled in from with my family. Is like, K's. It's like it's automatic. You're first in the hole, you get the pin, you get all the clubs. But it's amazing how many times and maybe it's because they're trying to do pace of play and all these things, with juniors, but it's just just something as simple as picking up a flag or you know what I mean?
And I have a question maybe for Coach Green, maybe Coach Hughes, maybe Coach TJ, but where I think for younger people, where's the best place for them to learn what the right way of doing all the little things are? Because I think sometimes we look at the tour players and they're supposedly the best examples, and sometimes they are. I have to say, Scotty Scheffler right now, I can't get enough of him continuing to win, because not only is he playing with his golf skills better than everybody else as a combined unit, but he keeps on doing it right in every other way also. I think that, the way he talks about his fellow competitors, the way he talks about his family, even the way that he handled an extremely difficult situation with an arrest, at the PGA Championship last year. Many other people would have said, that they were wronged and that other people did it wrong, and they would have talked about, don't you know who I am? And instead, he basically he was humble. He tried to be respectful of people doing a hard job, and it is part of his value system. But where would you guys say are the best resources or the best examples that people who are aspiring players can look at and say, though, that's what you're supposed to do?
It's a great question, Coach, and it's a tough one to answer because it requires, being exposed to it. And the only way to get exposed to it is to go to tournaments, play in tournaments. You learn a lot of things from your family, of course. You'll
Yep.
learn some things. If you're fortunate enough to be part of a club, you'll learn some things there. But it's just being observant and trying to incorporate your own personal values into how you approach the game. And I'm so glad you mentioned Scotty Scheffler too, because I'm not sure how many people on this Zoom remember him. I think it was 2 weeks ago when he talked about golf and what it meant to him. And I was dumbfounded, but at the same time, incredibly proud that he talked about at the end of the day, golf doesn't matter. It doesn't define who he is. He's going to win a tournament and it's going to be great. And he's worked really hard for it and he loves winning and he hates losing. But when the tournament's over, he gets to go home to his family. And that's the thing that matters to him. And I say that because I think for all the people that are on here, I would challenge all of you to question why. Why do you play golf? Why would you want to go to an Ivy League school? Why do you want to play golf in college? What are the things that matter to you? And I think it's a difficult question to answer, especially at a younger age, um, because we're sort of conditioned. Well, listen, Harvard's the best. I want to go to Harvard. Really? Why? And until you can answer that, you don't make that jump. And so those are questions that I think families can have conversations about. And I think that will serve you well. So answering your question, Coach Rhoads, about where they can learn the etiquette and things like that, it's just being observant and trying to incorporate what you believe as a person into the type of player you want to be. Is it picking up the flag stick? Listen, I'm guilty of as anybody. Sometimes I move to the next tee. I like to play fast. Um, but if you watch a tournament, if you go to a tournament instead of watching it on TV, you'll get to see a lot of the things we're talking about. Unfortunately, TV only shows you highlights and lowlights. That's about it. So you're going to see, Scotty Scheffler on the one end of the spectrum, and then you'll see, we're not going to call it any players on the other end of the spectrum, but it's a great thing to think about, and just be aware that somebody's always watching. Somebody's always watching.
I've got it's funny you should mention this question there, Cav, because I've got something that will probably resonate with my own personal self. Was my family. My father was a golfer, and my father was never a great player. But we were playing the day after Christmas one year when I was younger, and the weather was beautiful. So we went to Agawam Hunt, which, Kev, I know you just got through playing there in a tournament, so you know the hole. The ninth hole, I drive right in the middle of the fairway, and the ball ends up in a divot hole. So I move it out, put it on a tuft of grass, knock it on the green, 2 putt, go to the next tee. And my father says to me, "What'd you make there?" I said, "What do you mean? I made it 4." He goes, "Well, how about when you took the ball out of the divot hole?" I said, "Well, it's winter rules, preferred lie." He reached into his golf bag and took out the rule book, which he always carried with him, even though he was a 17 handicapper. And he left-handed turned at me and threw me the book and hit me in the nose. He said, "Show me in there where it says anything about preferred lies or winter rules." And of course, the rules of golf do not mention either. And for the rest of my life, and you, Will, we've played golf together. You know me. I don't care where it is. I'm not touching the ball. It's just that's how I was growing up. That's how I grew up playing. And I'm sure we all have instances like that. I'm sure Kevin, with his dad being the PGA professional, there's a certain acumen and etiquette that you have to play with. And I think that the people that are looking at this video who aspire to go to some of your institutions would be well versed in the rules of golf and knowing exactly how you should behave on the golf course before they apply.
Yeah. I would like to change topic and, okay, president of the Golf Coaches Association. Coach Will, what's that like and what are your duties?
It's an unbelievable honor to be part of the conversations as it relates to the future of the game, the future of college golf, the future of golf. And there are constantly challenges that we're facing. You know, I think that a lot of people, perhaps not so many on this call, a lot of people are aware of the recent changes in college athletics with the House settlement, the impact it's going to have on college golf. It's probably not going to be quite as dramatic as you'll see it in football and basketball, but it's still going to be a dramatic change. The ever-changing landscape of college athletics is it makes us all think about A, how fortunate we are to have what we have, but B, how precious it is and how much we have to take care of it. So I think that the role that I play is really just trying to be a steward of the game for all of college golf. I think that there's a lot of times when we can get lost in sort of the Power Four conferences. And I'm not sure if anybody knows what the Power Four are, but they're, you know, the Big 12, the ACC, the Big 10, and the SEC, and they have a tendency to control college athletics and the future of it. And I think in those conferences, it does seem that athletics is taking a much bigger role in the college experience than I think can be healthy. That's just the reality. So at the Golf Coach Association, we're dealing with those impacts and how is that going to affect the way that we play the game, the way that we kind of steward the game and hope for the future of college golf. So there seems like there's something new that comes along every 2 or 3 months that we deal with. And as long as we're paying attention to what's good for our organization and our players, I think the game is in great hands. I think sometimes it's a battle, without a doubt. I think that there are external forces that we can't control, but as long as we stay true to the values of golf, which Coach Hughes just talked about, Coach Rhoads just talked about, I think that we're going to be fine, but it's not without its challenges.
Can I ask how many people are on your committee?
So we have an executive committee, which is president, first vice president, second vice president, a treasurer, and then we have a national advisory board, which currently I think is about 18. And it runs the gamut of Power Four conferences straight down to Division III and NAIA. So we have a healthy representation across the board. And in fact, I think you had John Schoberg on this previously. Coach Schoberg is part of the National Advisory Board, and he brings that perspective of Division III golf. So I think that we're lucky that we have an incredibly diverse collection of coaches that all have the same drive of protecting our sport and making sure that we're always doing what's good for college golf.
Wow, that's awesome.
All
Okay,
right, let me shift
Yeah.
gears a little bit
yeah,
here.
shift gears, coach.
Kev, modern technology, good or bad for golf?
Oh, it's definitely good. And anything that makes the game more enjoyable is definitely good. I think more people have felt like, I can experience hitting a super solid shot. I can hit it kind of far. I can slightly miss the sweet spot, still hit a good one. The ball goes farther. It's been an amazing arc, I think, with regard to ball distances. And I know that's starting to become a problem, and it's become a debate, obviously, in terms of should they start limiting the golf ball or not. I'm not going to get too much into that one because it's way above my pay grade. But I think, I mean, anything that lets more people have access and experience hitting super good shots, I think it's a good thing. So, um, and it's kind of everywhere. It's certainly in the clubs themselves. It's the ball. It's agronomic practices and conditions keep on getting better. There's more access, throughout the entire year, no matter where you live. So I think it's generally a good thing.
I
Well,
also think it's important to note that despite all these advances and the ball traveling farther, things like that, the average score hasn't changed. The average score for golf has not changed. So all it's done is it's made it more enjoyable for more people. Not that they're getting any better. Now at the top end, absolutely. At the top end, it presents challenges because a lot of courses, and you can talk about the grand old courses like the Marions and places like that. The reality is that we're talking about 0.1% of golfers where technology is really changing the game. I think it's just the nature of it. I don't think there's any problem with it. I think that you can certainly make some adjustments, and there may be, discussions of bifurcation of rules for professionals versus amateurs. I don't think it'll ever happen because I think it's one of the great things about our game is that I can play the same ball as Scotty Scheffler. I can play the same driver as Rory McIlroy. And if only I could hit it half as well, then maybe I'd still play a little longer. But technology has been great. And I think, yes, there's a line to walk, but for the overwhelming majority of golfers, it is wonderful. I hit the ball as far now as I did 25 years ago, and I'm certainly not as good a shape as I was 25 years ago.
let me be devil's advocate for a second.
I had a feeling.
Well, though I might be going a different route than you think I'm going here. We all three of us know, and I'm sure TJ, because you teach us so much, the pace of play of golf in all centers of the earth is abysmal. Do the handheld devices, the radar detectors, do they slow down an already tortoise paced game and make it almost certainly sometimes unwatchable? But when we all played practice rounds, it's the most torturous thing you can possibly do on a golf course is to watch college kids play.
Coach, this has been the bane of my existence for 27 years now. There are a lot of people that can share the blame on this. Part of it is when you watch it on TV, you see how deliberate the professionals are. And when you're a 15-year-old young man or young woman, you want to play like professionals. So you're walking things off, you're tossing grass, you're waiting until it's your turn to play, things like that. And candidly, in college golf, coaches are a problem. And it's just the reality. It's our career. So we want to make sure that we're putting our best efforts forward every single day. And every player that was playing for us is putting his best effort forward. But that said, there are so many ways that it can be played faster without changing anything. I think rangefinders are fine as long as you're, getting your yardages before it's your turn to hit. As long as you've made your decision before it's your turn to hit. And then when you're putting, I'm going to refrain comment on aim point just because I like reading greens by myself. I don't think you can argue that aim point hasn't been good for putters. I think scientifically it makes sense. And if you can do it without losing pace, knock yourself out. Most of it, honestly, coach, comes down to just consideration. I think that so many players get so wrapped up in themselves that they don't think about, oh, geez, it might not be my turn, but I can take care of all the things I need to take care of. So when it is my turn, I'm ready to play. That's the biggest problem I see, I think, is we get into this mode of, I don't want to walk in front of my fellow competitors. Well, sure you can. Just walk in the rough. I'm not going to go through my pre-shot routine until it's my turn. Well, why not? You can. There's so many ways to kind of shave off 5 seconds here, and 5 seconds times 70 shots. That adds up to a significant amount of time, or 80 shots, or however many shots it's going to take. I'm with you. Pace of play is the one thing that could kill golf, because people aren't going to want to spend 5 hours playing anything. So it's a collective effort that we all have to make, and it's easy. It's easy to do. We got to stop watching it on television. They need to start, they need to start having penalties. There's
Oh,
no
what do you think
of a
about
penalty.
what do you think about the shot clock where you have like,
Yeah, I tell you, I've been obsessing about this for probably 15 years, and I just haven't had the courage to pull the trigger. I go on Amazon every year to see how much it would cost to buy one of those shot clocks that you see at basketball games. How much would it cost to get 25 officials there? So you've got an official with every group with one of those clocks, and he's pressing it, so he knows when it's somebody's turn to hit. He presses that shot clock so that everyone knows exactly how fast they are, or exactly how slow they are. And that's not even just in handling out penalties. I think it's more just, oh, you think you're a fast player, really? Well, here were your times today. So I think the European Tour or DP World Tour did it maybe 5 years ago. Phenomenal. I loved it, and I would do it at my tournament if I could figure out a way to afford it. It would be amazing.
okay. Coach Kevin, what do you think?
I love it. I think Coach Greed, as president of our organization, that's your next, that's your next rule.
Shot clocks at every tournament.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's great. I heard a LPGA player say it this year also that, they just don't enforce.
Yeah.
And so the players aren't motivated. And she said, I know how it would make people do it. If they like get one bad time, they get warned, two bad times, they get a penalty. And then it starts to be, they have to go back to qualifying school. Is I think she said something like that, and she's like that would get their attention super quickly, and everyone would play fast. But I couldn't agree more. We as coaches are all frustrated by it, and then the players, it's on some level it's not their fault either. If there's not enforcement, then there's not real motivation to do it because you feel like you're fighting against the grain, and you're feeling like you're trying to make up for your group being out of position when it's not your fault if you're a fast player. So, and you should never have to do that. You should only be responsible for playing yourself in a timely fashion, the way that Coach Green said, in terms of be ready, have your yardage, know the club you're going to hit. Do your reading before it's your turn, and then it doesn't have to take a long time. But culturally, we've slipped on that, so it's tough to watch. I hope we can go back in the other direction.
Hmm. All
We could
right,
do the whole hour
final.
on pace of play if you want.
What's that, Coach?
We could do the whole hour on pace of play if you want.
Okay, final question. You have incoming freshmen coming into your school, they're on your team. How do you integrate them into your program? What do you do? Coach Kevin first.
Well, certainly no hazing because things like that is one, illegal, and two, it's not helpful. So, meaning making people do things that are a condition of membership in a group that's against their will, again, within reason, then we don't need to do anything like that. It's much more the other way around, is that when we continue to have, an attractive group, an attractive set of values, an attractive set of um, actions that we take every day, that's going to take care of itself. I want to make sure that from the get go, I don't know, every coach and every team has its own hierarchy and way of doing things, but I like ours to be less vertical and more horizontal, that from the beginning, freshmen can contribute just as much on any level as upperclassmen can. The one thing we do ask first years to do is that if they're going to suggest, doing things differently, that they really need to ask questions first, and also try to find out why things are done the way that they are done, so that they show respect for thought process and people who have come before them. But besides that, they can ask questions in a respectful way. They can make suggestions also, and they can contribute right away. We let them know that right away, but it does carry responsibility also to show respect for the people who have come before them.
Okay, great. How about Coach Will?
We don't do anything per se. I think that we have the good fortune of having a good culture, and people are walking into a good culture. The other thing I would say is that when you're coming into college, it can be overwhelming. And imagine growing up in a town of 3,000 people, and then you go to a university of 55,000 people. You walk in there, and it's a little bit of a culture shock for sure. The good news is you're walking into a situation where there's 7 people that have the same values that you do. They have the same goals that you do. They have the same, maybe not the same background, but the same passions that you do. So you're walking into a situation that you already believe in. So becoming acclimated to a golf program is not that hard. When you have the same goal and you've got a good culture, leaders lead. And as Coach Rhoads put it, it's not vertical, it's horizontal. You know, most golf teams are pretty small, especially now with the house settlement. There's a maximum of 9 for those universities that opt into the settlement. So with 9 people, you don't need it. You don't need a hierarchy. You have 9 people that have a common goal. And when you have a common goal and you've got good people and a good culture, they're supporting one another. Now, every now and then you might have a senior that says, hey, listen, we don't do that here. And hopefully no, we don't play slow here. But
Right.
those are the things that you'll see. But it's just a simple comment here and there. There's no rituals. It's just, here's how we do things here. And if you have a better way, tell us. We're always looking to get better. If you help us get better, guess what? Leaders lead, plain and simple.
Wow, very well said. Well, I don't know. I think we could sit here and talk for another 4 or 5 hours because the topics are interesting, but the people that are discussing them are sharp and insightful. So, as someone that's known both you guys for a long time, I can't say how much it means to me for you to come out here and share your thoughts. Absolutely wonderful home run. So anybody that's watching this, you can see why these are 2 of the most desirable guys to play golf for. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's nice to see both of you again, and we don't see each other enough. We talk a lot, but we don't see each other enough.
I think I can speak for Coach Rhoads. We do anything for you, Coach. Whatever you need.
And
You got
what
that right.
Coach Hughes would say, we'd play for any of you guys, right, Coach?
Absolutely. Well, I wouldn't be good enough, but yes, I would play for him.
Right back at you.
Springdale's not a good place for a low hook. I'm sorry.
That's right. Ain't that the truth?
We are so thankful for you guys for joining us, and we hope to see you guys at our university ID camps, very soon.
This has been our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Enjoy the night, everyone.